Have you ever found yourself in a situation you never could have imagined? In a pit so dark you couldn't even see, and so deep your hands couldn't even reach the top? You have a vague recollection of how you got there, but no idea of how you're going to get out. Well, that's where I was in the summer of 2016. I was wandering up and down the streets of Spokane, wearing only a pair of flip-flops, gym shorts, and a tank top. It was 95 degrees outside, so I had to walk in various places and beg them just to get a drink of water. I was so hungry that I walked into a donut shop and begged for their day-old donuts. And by the grace of God, they gave them to me. And they weren't great donuts, but that day, they tasted like the best donuts in the world. You see, both my cars were locked up in impound. My kids were living with my sister. And my ex-wife was God knows where. I was high on some kind of drugs or multiple different drugs. And I was literally just wandering back and forth along the streets, hoping to run into someone I know or find some kind of stroke of luck. I had no idea where I was going to sleep that night. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I was completely lost and broken inside. I never, in my wildest dreams, ever imagined that I'd be in a place like this, but here I was. So that's where we're starting. This is my origin story. This is where I started, and this is where I started to build back. And maybe you're not in the same situation I was. Maybe you're just feeling a little hopeless. Maybe you're on the brink of divorce. Maybe your kids don't respect you. Maybe you're in a dead-end job and you just don't feel like getting up in the morning and going to work. Maybe you're fat, lazy, and out of shape. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things. Maybe it's all of those things. Maybe it's none of those things. But the reason that you're here is because something about what I had to say triggered you to watch this video. So I encourage you to stay and to pay attention because, trust me, there's hope on the other side. So there I was, wandering the streets of Spokane, again in a situation I never could have imagined. And I wasn't sure if I was crying or if I was sweating, but I finally just broke down. And I remember eating those stale donuts and reaching into my phone and making sure that I had just enough charge left to make a phone call to my brother. I called him and I said, "Hey, Dan, this is what's going on." And I gave him the rundown. And it was at that moment that he said to me, I kind of had an idea this phone call was coming. I'm not shocked by it. I was suspicious of it for a very long time, but I'm glad you finally said something. So it didn't surprise him. He knew something was up because we're twins and we pick up on those things from each other. And so he said, I have an idea. Let me go make a few phone calls and I'll call you back. So I hung up the phone with him and I kept wandering. Again, still not knowing where I was going to stay that night. And I called my mom and I told her what was going on. Again, she wasn't shocked because she kind of knew the direction my life had been going. And, my mom is my mom and she said a prayer for me. She said, "I hope you work some stuff out." I told her my brother had a plan. Anyway, I got off the phone with my mom and my brother called me back and he said, "Hey, so here's the deal. Me and my brother lived in Colorado." He said, "Me and Chanel agreed that you can come and stay with us, and me and Dad, my dad lived in Colorado too. We're going to buy you a bus ticket. You just tell us when." And because I was still fighting inside, because I still wasn't sure that I was at the bottom, I wasn't quite sure that this was the end. I was like, all right, well, I'll let you know, because I was still clinging on to some way that I thought that I could maybe make this work, that I could somehow claw my way out of that by myself. Again, maybe you're not quite as bad as me, but you know something needs to happen. You know that you're lost. You know that there's a piece or big pieces that are missing. I didn't know this then, but this was the step that I was in my journey of recovery. And I'm just going to read this to make sure that I get it exactly right. So step 1 of Narcotics Anonymous is, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction and that our lives had become unmanageable. And that's where I was at that moment. I acknowledged that I was powerless, but I wasn't quite ready to accept what needed to come next. And that reminds me of a story. See, after I started to get clean, I started to go to a lot of Narcotics Anonymous meetings. There was a story they used to tell in there a lot. It's called An Addict in a Hole. And so I'm going to use the word addict because that's the way that I learned the story. But put yourself Replace addict with whatever is going on in your life, whether it's pornography, whether it's you're broke, whether it's bankruptcy, whatever it is, fill in the blanks. So it starts like this. An addict fell in a hole and he's down there and he has no way to get out and he can't see any way to get out. He can see and hear people walking up above and he keeps calling out for help and no one's really stopping. And a businessman walks by and he calls out. He says, "Hey, can I get some help?" Businessman looks down, says, "Sure," tosses him down some money and says, "Go buy yourself a ladder and get yourself out." Well, he can't get out of the hole, so he can't go buy a ladder. So that didn't help him at all. A doctor walks by, says, "Hey, doc, can you help me out?" Doc looks down there, pulls out a prescription pad, writes him a prescription and throws him down some pills. He's still stuck in the bottom of a hole. A therapist walks by. Therapist sat down and started asking him about his childhood trauma. The addict told him all about his childhood trauma. And the therapist said, "Well, I'll be back tomorrow and we can talk some more." Addict is still in the hole. A priest walks by. He says, "Hey, priest, can you help me out?" Priest hands him a Bible. Great. Hands him a Bible, a tool. He's still stuck in that hole. None of those men got him out. Then a recovering addict, or whatever situation you're in, a recovering addict, and also a divorced man, also someone who's walked through bankruptcy, you name it, walked by the hole, and he jumped in. And the addict looks at him like, "Are you crazy? What are you doing? Now we're both stuck in the bottom of this hole." The addict says to him, "Relax. I've been here before. I know the way out." That's who I could have used at the time when I was going through all of that. And that's who I want to be. And that's who I'm trying to be to you today, right here, right now. I've been down in that hole. I've been at the lowest of lows and the bottom of the bottom, and I've gotten out. And that's what this origin story is about. It's about how I got out from where I was. In the next couple of days, after I made that phone call with my brother, and after I decided that I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, I got called into a meeting with my therapist, with my attorney, with a social worker, and with, I don't remember who all else. They called me into this meeting and they said, "Andrew, you're on the verge of losing any contact you will ever have again with your kids." You see, we were expecting you to be the one that was going to be strong through all of this. We knew that your wife wasn't going to make it. We didn't have any confidence in who she was going to turn out to be, but we had confidence in you. And we know things aren't good. And it was another one of those moments that I just got slapped in the face in a good way. And I broke down crying and just like sobbing in front of them. And I let them know exactly what was going on. And they said, "Andrew, if you don't get your shit together, you're going to lose contact with your kids forever." And I looked down at my arm and I was bleeding from where my ex-wife had scratched me. And in that moment, I knew that this was my opportunity. This was my time to actually get things right. So that evening, right after I left that meeting, I called my brother back up on the phone and I said, "Buy me the ticket. I got to get this fixed. I'm coming." My journey to Colorado was a whole separate story, and it's a pretty cool one. And I'll tell you that one day because there's some powerful life lessons in there too. I know it looks like I got punched in the nose, and maybe it looks like I got caught trying to steal roses from a rose bush. Now, that's not what happened. It's actually less dramatic than all of that. You see, my cats had to go to the vet the other day to get updated shots in order for me to get a new rental house. And my cats have never been in a cat carrier before. And so it was quite a fight getting them in there. But I got them in the carriers, I got them to the vet, got them their shots, and I got them home. So I'm still not sure who won. It's just part of life. One thing I want to keep you guys updated on is every day I do what's called a power list. I identify 5 critical tasks that I need to accomplish every single day in order to move my life forward. And if I get all 5 of those things done, I count that day as a win, regardless of whatever else happened. It might be like right now I'm going through a liturgy that my friend wrote. And so that's one of the things that I'm doing every day. I do visualization at the office. I make sure and get out and exercise. And I do things like journaling. And today, recording this episode is the 5th thing on my power list. So once I'm done with this episode, I can call today a win. So I'm going to be updating you guys on that kind of thing. So if this resonated with you at all, if you can feel any of those emotions, if that's you in any way at all possible, comment down below. That's me, and I will personally reach out to you. I also encourage you to subscribe, to like the video and to share it with someone who you think might need to hear this too. I'm here for you. That's what this channel is all about. I am that addict who's willing to jump down in that hole with you. I am that divorced man who's willing to jump down in that hole with you. I am that fat, lazy man who's willing to jump down in that hole to show you the way out. I am that spiritually lost and broken soul who can maybe help you find yours too. Thank you for watching.
So if you like this content, please give it a rating, a review, and share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about me and what I'm all about and what I can maybe do for you, check out my website at thedangerousgentleman.org. That's thedangerousgentleman.org. Thank you for listening.